What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update. And Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House and the leader of the Democrats, thinks that she has leverage over the White House and thinks that she actually might get the entire $2.2 trillion package agreed on by the White House before the election. And I'm going to go over some details and some misconceptions on how the stimulus check is actually larger for some but maybe not for others, and the potential tax credits that you may or may not receive, which could actually mean thousands of dollars more in your pocket. I'm going to go over those details in this video. But first, if you can, give this video a like down below. It really helps out our channel. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. My wife and I do all the research for you on the stimulus checks, the elections, and the virus and related news. And we bring you all the information in a quick, concise video. Okay, first up, Nancy Pelosi citing leverage over President Donald Trump holds strong to her $2.2 trillion price tag in the stimulus check negotiations. As you can see here, Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Tuesday shot down entreaties from some Democrats to cut a $1.8 trillion deal with the White House on the new stimulus package agreements, arguing that President Donald Trump's pleas to Congress and also to go big in his newest tweet have given her leverage to hold out for more aid. Nancy Pelosi says, quote, "I appreciate the, shall we say, a couple people saying, take it, take it, take it." Nancy Pelosi said in a phone call with Democrats, according to a source on the call. She says, take it, take it. Even the president is saying, go big or go home. This gives you a line into her thinking on the actual stimulus check negotiations. And at this point, I firmly kind of think that Nancy Pelosi is the only person holding us up from a stimulus check, a stimulus package, an unemployment check, money for rental assistance and mortgage assistance. I think she's possibly the only person in the United States. Now, I could also say that Republican senators are also possibly in that list, but that still is yet to be determined if they can come to an agreement and pass a bill. We need 13 Republican senators to pass any bill in the Senate, along with all the Democrats. But the White House has said here over the last couple days, multiple times from actually different sources in the White House, that they will have enough Republican senators to pass a bill in the Senate, at least 13 of them, which is about 25% of Republican senators. The White House says there will be enough. So if that's true, if that will be true when we see an agreement, Nancy Pelosi is probably the only person in the United States right now that is holding us up from getting another stimulus check, stimulus package, and everything that goes in it. I know. You can say it. I get you. Hopefully she doesn't haunt me again and knock down the Thor's hammer. If you didn't see my previous video, that Thor's hammer literally fell down in the middle of my video while I was reading a quote from Nancy Pelosi's press release. And it was just like, boom. And I had a couple comments from some of you guys saying it looks like it was pushed. And maybe Nancy Pelosi's haunting me. Maybe she's haunting you guys too. I, I'm sure I'll get at least a bunch of you guys saying Nancy Pelosi is haunting the American people. Let's just pass this bill. Let's get some stimulus out to Americans. There's people hurting. Lots of people hurting. People need money. They need help. They're losing their jobs from this pandemic. Food prices are going up. Let's get some stimulus out now. And then after the election, we can work on getting out more. I mean, they've already passed 4 stimulus packages, but only one of them included a check. And only one of them actually included an unemployment extension update also. The second one came from the president's presidential executive order. So honestly, Congress needs to pass another deal to get us through the next 30 or 60 days. And then if we're still in this predicament, let's pass another one at that point. Now, the interesting thing is going forward, we could have a completely different situation because the Senate is narrowly held by Republicans. But remember, they have that filibuster rule in the Senate where you need 60% of senators to vote. But just by switching a few seats, I think it's like 4 or 5 seats in the Senate, the Democrats could actually take control of the Senate and at least have a narrow majority with the 51 votes. As you can see here on this screen, in the U.S. House of Representatives, there's 435 people, and the majority of them, 232, go to the Democrats, with 197 going to the Republicans. So they have a lead of, what is that, 35 votes in the Senate, or I'm sorry, in the House of Representatives. The Democrats have a 35 vote lead in the U.S. House of Representatives, and every single one of them is up for reelection, including Nancy Pelosi. So at this point, I think that anything could happen in both the House and the Senate. And of course, with the presidency, in my previous video, I asked you guys, who did you think was going to win? There was over 5,000 comments, and literally just, it looked like about half think that Biden's going to win and half think that Trump's going to win. I mean, if you read through those comments, there was just thousands and thousands of comments with people completely just thinking completely different things. So I don't really think that it looks like, from at least our sample polling on this channel, that there is a clear-cut winner. And I think that anything could happen with the House and the Senate. The Democrats could win the House, the Republicans could win the House, and anything could happen in the Senate too. Who knows what's going to happen? On November 3rd, we're going to find out, but we could see a flip of the House, of the Senate. We could see the Republicans take over both, the Democrats take over both. It's such a narrow margin in both of those that anything could happen because they both only lead by a few seats. Also, I need to clear something up for you. There's some misconceptions and some things going on that you need to understand. In the newest proposal from the White House and from the Republicans, that $1.8 trillion stimulus, which a lot of Democrats are calling for Nancy Pelosi to just take, but she's still holding out. In that bill from the Republicans, there's several different things. We're going to talk about one thing in specific. You know, there's a $400 unemployment extension in there. There's money for mortgage and rental assistance. There's $1,200 stimulus checks. But what I want to talk to you guys about is the $1,000 check for dependents from the Republicans. But what is being left out that the Democrats are offering that the Republicans aren't? And you can kind of weigh in what's better for you, okay? So the Republicans have raised the dependent stimulus check from $500 for dependents to $1,000. I reported this to you guys several days ago when it first came out. It was leaked from some White House sources, okay? And that does seem to be correct at this point, that the dependent check from the Republican proposal has gone from $500 to $1,000, okay? But the thing is that the Democrats in their bill, they want to give you tax credits, which is actually worth more than that additional $500 per child. That, remember, that dependent tax credit. You could have adult dependents too in there, but it goes from 500 to 1,000. But the Democrats want tax credits instead of the higher stimulus check for dependents, and the tax credits actually probably means more money in your pocket. Let me show you. As you can see here, the Democrats' earned income tax credit provisions would, among other things, nearly triple the maximum credit for childless workers in 2020 to almost $1,500. That's a $1,500 tax credit, and expand the pool of eligible recipients. The left-leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities said the provisions would benefit about 15.4 million extra individuals, reducing the number of them taxed into poverty, quote, by 96%. The child tax credit provisions, which is in addition, would boost the maximum amount a lower income household can claim from up to $1,400 to the full $2,000 per child under the age of 17 that households currently earning up to $400,000 benefit from. Lower income families currently get smaller amounts because they don't have enough tax liability to soak up the presently non-refundable credits. Nancy Pelosi says, quote, "Where we ended yesterday was my main concern about no money for the refundability, which is a very important part of our legislation." She says they seem pretty wedded to their tax cut for the high end, the high income earners. I hope they'd be wedded to a tax credit for low income children and families. Republicans typically oppose expansions of refundable tax credits since they operate more like direct government aid to those who don't pay much income tax, though in many cases, households are subject to substantial payroll taxes. Senate Finance Chairman Charles Grassley said Democrats are, quote, taking advantage of the pandemic to push refundable tax credit proposals that they failed to get in previous negotiations. Quote, the Democrats have been trying to use that for leverage for a long period of time. Okay, next I want to read to you guys a couple reasons why I like to help you guys understand why Democrats and Nancy Pelosi are doing certain things and why Republicans are thinking and doing certain things so that you can understand the situation a little bit more than you might have previously thought. Okay, so let me read you a couple of this information here. In the fiscal year of 2020 that just ended, the US government had a $3.1 trillion deficit. $3.1 trillion deficit in 2020. Okay. The fiscal year of 2020, which just ended. Okay. That's 15% of the entire United States economy. Okay. For example, President Obama's deficit back in 2009 was less than half of that, $1.4 trillion deficit. That's per year. That's per year. So right now, in the last 12 months, we're adding $3.1 trillion to the US deficit. Okay. The last time the deficit was 15% of our economy, which is what it was in 2020, was when we borrowed money for World War II. Okay. Obviously, know that was a huge, massive thing going on, World War II. So that was the last time our deficit was this high as a percentage form, because obviously we know money wasn't worth nearly as much back then as it is now. Okay. So the last time that our budget deficit was 15% of our entire economy was back in the 1940s. Also, now the USA has $27 trillion in total debt, in the total deficit. Now, as you can see here on this screen, this is the deficit tracker that kind of tracks all the additional years, 2019, 2018, 2017, which were all under President Donald Trump. Okay. Now, you do see that we were on track with the US deficit up until the pandemic. And then instantly after March, we jumped significantly for April, May, and June. And then since then, we've kind of been back on track a little bit if you kind of look at the graph here compared. Now, the reason why April, May, and June were statistically much, much higher is obviously because of the pandemic and because of all the stimulus we passed. And if we come to another stimulus deal, well, then obviously that will mean a lot more deficit. However, some experts say, and I actually kind of agree with this point of view, because remember, if you ask different experts and Republicans and Democrats their point of view on something, sometimes you get completely different answers. Okay. And some experts say that although this goes on the deficit tracker, it's in a way not deficit. It's not debt. It's not money that's owed back. Okay. For example, if China buys our bonds and we owe trillions of dollars to them, we have to pay them interest every month or every year, however the bond or the interest works for that particular note. Okay. But that's debt. Okay. That's money we have to pay back plus interest. In this case, there's actually no money being paid back at all. Okay. So if we pass out stimulus checks, which is $300 billion for $1,200 stimulus checks to Americans, it doesn't get paid back. It's not debt that's owed. It's just given out to the people. There's no interest on it. Interest doesn't accumulate on it every month, every year going forward. Okay. If they do PPP program, if they do mortgage and rental assistance, if they do money for schools and for testing of the virus, it's not debt. It's not owed. It doesn't get paid back. Okay. It's just basically a gift, a stimulus to the economy. And we really need that at this point because remember, the Fed had just said that based on all other major economies in the world, the average amount that those countries have spent in stimulus since the pandemic has happened is 30% of their GDP. we're only spending 15% of our GDP right now, which is GDP basically means our economy, how much our economy is worth. We are only spending about 15% of what it's worth on stimulus right now. Okay. Other major countries are spending 30% on average, some higher, some lower. Okay. But we're spending well below the average. Okay. And all it really means is that we're probably going to take longer to rebound the economy and to rebound jobs and everything that goes along with it. Now, the virus is kind of a different set because the vaccine's in there and social distancing and wearing masks and, what basically is in God's hands of what's going to happen with the virus going forward. So we can't really control that, although we can kind of with vaccines and masks and social distancing. But, some people don't even believe in any of that. Okay. But what we can do is we can spend money. We can spend money on testing and tracing and vaccines. We can spend money on helping the economy, helping airlines, helping restaurants that are struggling, businesses that are going out of business, helping the American people, helping the unemployed. Okay, so spending more money and almost the vast majority, almost all, I don't want to say all because there's always, some person out there with a different opinion, but almost all economists say that now is not the time to pump the brakes on stimulus. Now is the time to spend more on stimulus because what we do now is going to affect us for years to come. And if we take inaction now and don't spend money now to help out the economy and help out the people, it's going to have a profound effect. It's going to have a magnification. Okay, so if we spend money now, help out the economy now, it'll help us 2, 3, 4, 10 times more in the future. If we don't spend money now, it could hurt us 10 times more in the future. So the fact of the matter is they need to spend more money. Almost all economists agree with it. Okay. We can't really worry about the national deficit right now, especially because this money isn't really debt. I mean, of course, some people are going to have a different opinion on that. You can let me know yours down below in the comments. Do you agree with at least my train of thought with that, or do you have a completely different train of thought? And again, if you do, that's completely okay. That's what makes us human, is that we all have different opinions. If I asked 100 of you guys about Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or the president, whether you like the president, whether you don't like the president, the vast majority of you guys would have completely different opinions. And that's what's great about us, is that we all have different opinions, and that makes us one, that makes us one country, that makes us together. But when we need to come together in times of national crisis, such as World War II, and the pandemic of 2020, it puts us together as stronger as a whole. And hopefully, I know we have the election in 3 weeks, but hopefully we can come together one more time, or Congress can come together one more time to pass something before the election, and then we can worry about more after the election. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I would love to hear them. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. I will update you guys as soon as more information comes out. And you can click on these top videos to watch my newest stimulus check videos next. And this video teaches you how to start a business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.